Hello class 8. The American War of Independence has been going on since this week. Great Britain won over France in the Seven-Year War in 1763. Grenville, the then Prime Minister of England, passed a series of acts. Those were the Proclamation of 1763, the Sugar Act of 1764, the Quartering Act, and the Stamp Act. The worst act was the Stamp Act. This insisted that the American colonies would have to pay a tax to Britain for all the printed materials they used, such as newspaper, magazines, and even playing cards. Opposing the Stamp Act, the Americans raised the slogan "No taxation without representation." The American demanded, as there was no representation from America in the British Parliament, so it had no right to impose taxes on them. The British Parliament, fearing the mutiny, repealed the Stamp Act. The American revolutionaries were greatly influenced by some political thinkers of Europe, such as Rousseau, Voltaire, and Locke. They told the right to govern a nation should be based on the consent of the governed. From this, it clearly understood that the Americans did not want any representations from Britain in their assemblies. Even they wanted to establish their own government through election. In 1767, Townshend, the then finance minister of England, imposed a new duties on tea, glass, paint, paper, etc. The Americans repealed these Townshend Acts by boycotting British goods. A clash was seen in Boston between the British soldiers and the American colonists. The American colonists threw stones at the British soldiers, and the British soldiers shot down some of the colonists. This bloodbath is known as Boston Massacre. In 1773, a new Tea Act imposed heavy duties on imported tea. So, a group of Americans disguised as Red Indians climbed the ships docked at Boston Harbor and threw all the tea crates into the sea. This incident came to be known as the Boston Tea Party. To counter the defiance of the Americans, the British Parliament passed the Intolerable Act. It required the Americans to seek the British governor's permission prior to holding any public meeting. On the other hand, some of the cartoons books encourage the former colonies to unite against the British. The situation was unbearable. The Americans came out openly against the British rule on their land, and they started a full-fledged revolt which is known as the American War of Independence. The topic will be continued on next day. Thank you.